You know, we hear the word groomer a lot, predominantly from Republican politicians and right-wing media these days.
When did our public schools, any schools, become what are essentially grooming centers for gender identity radicals?
Disney wants to completely take your children and they want to indoctrinate them into sexual immoral filth.
Yet they are silent on the fairly obvious.
Now it's all about pushing a sexual agenda on little children across their entertainment platforms.
The entertainment platforms are really something, which brings us to this.
I'm blessed. The good Lord has given me great health, a wonderful family, and a tremendous place to go to work every day.
Auburn is hiring Hugh Freeze as its next head coach.
The employment of one Hugh Freeze with the Auburn Tigers. No matter what he says on Twitter or press conferences, his past haunts him. And he knows it. Auburn knows it too, but they made the hire anyway.
Mark, what more can you tell us?
Well, USA Today is reporting that Freeze made a call to a area code 313 number on January 19th, 2016. They're saying that that phone number was connected to a female escort service that was advertised on a website. I actually talked to Hugh Freeze about this last week. He denied calling the service, said it was a wrong number. USA Today said that Freeze resigned shortly after.
But it wasn't just that. In 2021, Liberty University, the former home of evangelical leader Jerry Falwell Jr., was sued by 12 women who claimed the school created an environment on its Virginia campus that increased the likelihood of SA and the R word. How is Hugh Freeze involved? Keep watching. The former student who made the assault allegations said she reported her abuse to the university. Her complaint claims Liberty failed to provide accommodations for her emotional, physical, psychological suffering, lawyers representing the plaintiffs said. In the suit, the plaintiffs were not named, going by Jane Doe 1 through 12. One of the plaintiffs was a minor at the time of the alleged wrongdoing. They would settle the suit in May 2022 per VOA News, however.
Until now, these two women have never met. There's good reason why this meeting is so filled with emotion. These two women used to be known only as Jane Does, but today they are going public, revealing their identities on camera for the first time.
My name is Chelsea, and I am Jane Doe number 7.
My name is Heather, and I'm Jane Doe number 13.
1 year prior to the settlement, these brave women would break their silence. Andrews would also call out this man, Ian McCaw, athletic director at Liberty University. This followed a stint at Baylor where this happened.
The report faulted Baylor for a wholly inadequate response, saying the university failed to take appropriate action to respond to reports of sexual assault reportedly committed by football players. It said 2 university administrators directly discouraged complainants from reporting, and in one case even retaliated against someone who reported a sexual assault. The university responded today by stripping the title of president from Kenneth Starr, who was the one-time special prosecutor who led President Clinton's impeachment trial involving White House intern Monica Lewinsky. And they fired football coach Art Briles.
Kenneth Starr, who represented Donald Trump at his impeachment trial, along with football coach Art Briles and Ian McCaw, would all be let go from the school, or as they put it, resign. Still, McCaw found a home at Liberty under Falwell. When McCaw was hired by LU, Andrews called it out and received backlash from none other than Hugh Freeze. "You don't even know Ian McCaw," Freeze wrote in a DM to an SA survivor. "He is the most Jesus-like leader I have." Why is the head football coach at Liberty University DMing me during and after my lawsuit with LU, wrote Andrews, at almost midnight when I didn't tag him, and I haven't even responded to other DMs he sent over the months, publicly naming so he can see that I don't want direct contact with him. The message prior to it: "I would love for you to help me understand your attacks on me and our program. I'm open to talk about issues you have with me/program, either face-to-face or by phone, but I've never believed in social media discussions when you don't truly know the other party," Freeze wrote to Andrews. Then there was Hugh Freeze's behavior as a high school football coach. 3 women who were students at Briarcrest Christian School in Memphis in the late 90s and early thousands described to USA Today Sports how Freeze made them feel uncomfortable with inappropriate behavior. Katie Dalmasso, 32 years old, said she was an 8th grader at Briarcrest in '99 when Freeze made her change shirts inside his office after he said her Grateful Dead tee violated school dress code. Quote, "Coach Freeze pulled me in his office and told me that my shirt represented drugs," Katie said. "I said, I'll go change in the bathroom. And when I said that, he said, nope, you're going to change in here, so I get the Grateful Dead shirt and you can't have it back." He didn't do anything sexual, but I stood in the corner and faced the wall when I did it, and I changed out of my shirt. No privacy. Another former Briarcrest student said Freeze was hyper attentive to the length of her skirts and that he loomed in the parking lot after she would go to her car to change clothes. She also said she was troubled by the time she and some football players faced discipline for arriving late from lunch, and when she asked to be paddled, a form of discipline reserved for the male students, instead of receiving detention. She said she was stunned when Freeze obliged rather than getting a female teacher. Freeze did some bizarre warm-up taunt before actually making contact, said the woman, who spoke to USA Today Sports on the condition of anonymity because she feared reprisal. "I was humiliated that he didn't have a female in the room. I don't know if the acts were intentionally sexual or if he was really that oblivious to the inherently sexual nature of his approach to discipline." Alas, after Auburn showed interest in Hugh Freeze, Chelsea Andrews contacted officials at the school. Pictured is John Cohen, the athletic director at Auburn. He said his process of hiring Freeze was well vetted. The question remains, how could the process be well vetted if Chelsea Andrews was never contacted? While at LU, Freeze said, "I'd love for you to tell me when people will get over it. I think 80% of them are realistic and say, dude, he's made a mistake and paid a price. Good Lord, let him be. There's another 20% that never will be over it. I've kind of come to grips with that. For most years of my life, I've driven the profession. There was a period there that it drove me. The issues of pride and self are not good. To my knowledge, I've tried with anybody I could. I made sure they knew that if I hurt them, I was sorry, but it's time to move on," he says. "How many times can we write about it? How many times can we talk about it? I said I was wrong. I've paid a price. My family paid a heck of a price. When can we move on?" He paid a heck of a price? Auburn is set to pay Hugh Freeze $6.5 million over 6 years. That was after Liberty and Freeze reached an agreement that paid him $40 million over 8 years. So, paid a heck of a price is not accurate in the slightest. Jason Kirk would write, "His assumption that everyone should get over his awful behavior reveals he surrounded himself with like-minded adults who share a specific misunderstanding of redemption, especially since he then worsened his reputation by trying to intimidate Chelsea Andrews. Way too many Christians view forgiveness as something to be granted by a third-party arbiter whom they happen to access via an encrypted connection not available to the human victim. It doesn't cross their minds that they should face repercussions, make amends, alter behavior, or at very least thump their poorly read Bibles less frequently. They instead rub some church on it, wipe a tear while smiling at other Christians who share the appropriate demographics, and declare the matter resolved. They are then shocked to discover there are people outside their backslapping huddle who don't recognize the validity of the get out of consequences free card the offender has imagined into existence." Thus, we end with this. No one is entitled to anyone else's trust, and those of us who grew up learning to survive holy rolling BSers are under zero obligation to ever see Freeze as anything but one of them. So why is Auburn hiring a guy who resigned from Ole Miss for a lack of institutional control and has very publicly went after essay victims? Because they wanted to. That's it.